Monday.
What is going on, everybody? Jon Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook Show. We got a 13-game main slate on tap for everybody. James, you were on the playbook. You've done all the research. We did the preview show this morning. We've waiting on some news. Some news has come through. Some other news has not. Going to be a pretty big day here over at Fantasy Alarm.
It's going to be a big day here at Fantasy Alarm for sure. News this second, PJ Tucker is available per Shams. So there's been some conflicting reports on whether he's been going to be available, not available. Now Shams confirming, and we all know Shams spends 18 hours of his day on his phone. So I would say that seems like a reasonable thing. That Shams is correct, but yeah, big slate, a lot of injury news. A lot of interesting game environments, some big spreads, some big totals. We're obviously waiting a lot of stuff. There's a lot of players that are questionable big time. Some players we've gotten status updates on, like the likes of Kyrie Irving, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Jimmy Butler. Some we haven't, like Brandon Ingram, Trae Young, Tyrese Halliburton. But we're going to comb through it all, whether these players are playing or not, and what we would do in the likelihood that they're in or out. So yeah, it's going to be a fun slate. Bart Scott can't wait.
Like I said, guys, as you jumping in here, if you have any questions, throw them in our chat. We are more than happy to. Prince made it. That is true. You're here on time. Good, sir. If you have any FanDuel questions for us today, feel free to throw those our way as well. More than happy to help you out with any FanDuel questions. Looking at the DraftKings slate today, largely what we're going to be breaking down, but we don't discriminate. We play everywhere. If you have any FanDuel questions, go ahead. Throw them in the chat. Those of you who are joining in right now as well, if you haven't already, can you go ahead and hit that like, subscribe button? Certainly helps out the channel, helps us out, helps the show out, get more eyes on the work that we do here. Really helps support what we got going on over at Fantasy Alarm. So we appreciate all of you who come in here, tune in every single day to the preview show in the morning, and then back here at 5 o'clock Eastern time for our live show Monday through Friday, to help you guys hopefully dominate some of your NBA DFS slate. We're off to a pretty strong start. Last night was a pretty ugly slate. It was just 3 games. We had the blowout there earlier in the day. The Knicks and the Cavs just snowflaked pretty much the entire slate. And basically based off that information, I just went and changed the entire lineup that I had built. I only had 2 guys in that Knicks-Cavs game. I had Mobley, I had Mitchell. Once I saw all the rostership that was going towards that game, you and I both were like, well, that probably means that there's going to be some low roster plays in the late games. And I kind of went to a more fair and balanced build, got Wemby at 12% off of a pivot down from Durant and those guys, and was able to find some success. Much larger slate, much larger player pool here today. So we're going to break that down for you. The Fantasy Alarm Playbook is already out by Grande, so you can go check that out if you're a member. If you're not, you can check that out today as well, simply by going to fantasyalarm.com/lock. Promo code LOCK will save you $100 off our annual subscription package. So, guys, we see your chat. I'm going to close the chat window right here, but we're still going to answer those questions. Gabriel, I see your question. Shoot you a low-rostered play under 9K. We'll have that for you as we go over our positional breakdowns. We definitely got a couple of guys in mind for these lineup builds this evening here. James, taking a look at the slate when it comes to totals and injuries. You mentioned some of the injuries we're looking at. How about some of the game totals that we're looking to key in on today?
Yeah, Wizards, Hawks, creme de la creme today, 239 total. I fully expect that to be the case with every Wizards game, just given that they're not going to play any defense at all this year. It's an 8.5-point spread in that game. Not really a thing you'd expect Atlanta to be in most instances, but here we are, even with Trae Young questionable, because he was bouncing on a trampoline at one of those trampoline
Parks.
Parks. So interesting to see the injury there, but 239 in that game. Pacers Celtics 234.5, big 11-point spread as per usual for a Celtics game. Will we get on a 13-game slate? Boils down to, will you get the Celtics in full capacity for 4 quarters, especially if there's no Tyrese Halliburton and Mathurin and Jalen Smith, 3 of their key rotational pieces over there in Indiana. So definitely kind of an interesting game environment there. 227 in Pelicans Thunder. Big news in that one is Brandon Ingram being questionable. If he doesn't play, there's obviously things that open up. If he does play, it's hard to get to really any Pelicans. 225.5 in Grizzlies Jazz. I think that's a really fun game to target. A little contrarian as well. Kings Warriors 227.5. We know De'Aaron Fox is out of that game. Some injuries news on the Warriors side, at least clearing up a little bit with Klay Thompson listed probable. And then Clippers Lakers 226. That game definitely got a lot more interesting today when Tyronn Lue, who said last night after the game he wasn't sure what the statuses of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard would be. I said it in our Fantasy Alarm Discord today that, of course, that game is on ESPN today. So back-to-back, perfect. Let's put the Clippers. They're the scapegoats. First, back-to-back for a nationally televised game. Let's put the most injury-prone stars on that. And Adam Silver's like, ha, ha, ha. Let's see what happens. Well, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, as of now, not listed on the injury report. So some clarity there. Lakers still 5-point favorites. Despite the back-to-back, obviously the Clippers did not travel because they played last night's game.
Yep. Again, I'm still waiting to see George and Kawhi take the opening tip. We got a timeout under one, and next thing you know, you see Tucker and Norman Powell on the floor, and that's just it for PG and Kawhi. Hey, they started. They didn't miss it, Adam. You can't find us. Ha ha. Like the Draymond tip game we had last year where he took the tip and didn't play another minute in that game, and all the sports books were gracious enough to avoid any wagers on the Draymond game there. So, all right, let's get into it. We have a lot to talk about here, including our Call of Fame plays of the day. We'll go over those as we break down the slate, recap it at the end of the show, and of course, as always, we end in each and every show by making a tournament lineup live here on the show. So stick with us throughout the next hour plus as we update you throughout any news that comes through and our positional breakdowns along with our example lineup here. Point guard position, Luka Doncic. Kyrie Irving downgraded to doubtful for this evening's game. Luka's been on quite another one this season. Already 3 straight 70 fantasy point games. Took them no time to get him up over $12,000, 12.6 here on tonight's slate. And once again, while we're looking at some of the projected rostership here, on the shorter slate on Monday, which I say shorter, it was 11 games. The Kyrie Irving news, all of a sudden 30% rostership ended up going to Luka in GPP tournaments. As of right now, once again, we're looking at low rostership, but I have to assume once we get the official rule out on Kyrie Irving that, these draft percentage forecaster algorithms just tick that up immediately. And Luka becomes a bit more chalky. Now, obviously, big slate, not a ton of value. Other fair and balanced builds certainly going to be in play. He is 12.6, but I got to get to him in my lineups, and we're going to start things off right away when it comes to our Call of Fame because for me, Luka Doncic is my GPP lock of the night. I'm going to find a way to fit him in my lineups. He's going to be a core play for me tonight. The guy is giving you 70 plus a night, and there are only a couple of guys on this slate that can give you that kind of upside.
Yeah, I don't have anything really to disagree with. I would say the only problem with getting to Luka at 12.6 is, and I'm sure it's going to open up because we do have a lot of news that we still have to comb through. There's still a lot of guys that are questionable that matter, a lot of impactful injuries. There's just not a lot of quality value plays under 4K. And you think of when you're paying close to a guy who's closer to 13K than he is 12K, you do need a premium value. And I think we're going to get to your, value lock of the day. And I think it makes sense. I think your value play of the day is the perfect pairing with Luka Doncic. And I think there's
some correlations with my locks today here, James.
Yes, there is definitely correlation with your lock. I definitely noticed it. And it makes sense, but you're also and I'm not going to spoil who it is, but we're also reliant on recent trends to continue when this person may or may not be even a starter, right? So it's like, I love that player. So I'm not like poo-pooing him. I am with you on the Luka front because I'm gonna have lineups with Luka. I'm also just playing devil's advocate. To answer Gabriel's question, first, number one, Luka Doncic is the answer. One of the answers.
Well, he says over 9K.
Guy.
Yeah, exactly. He is not over 9K right now. At least nobody is really in on Luka Doncic. Now, again, these draft percentage forecasters, they're right a lot of the time, but there are other times where public consensus goes against the computer algorithm there. We went into that slate on Monday with the expectation of a low rostered Luka, according to everything that we've seen. And you and I, we go around, we check different places here, and they're all kind of in agreement. And then the tournaments came out, and it's like, oh no, everybody played Luka because there's no Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
So again, we'll see. Sean brings up a great point here as well. On FanDuel, Luka's 12-9, and there is no bonuses over there. So definitely a tougher pill to swallow, probably, over on FanDuel this evening when it comes to Luka Doncic. DraftKings, though, you do get that triple-double bonus, double-double bonus, 3-point bonus, all that other good stuff. So, Luka's shooting threes at a rate we haven't seen him shoot threes at, it feels like, so far. So, for me, loving on Luka at the top here, but obviously there's plenty of other options to go. How are you ranking out the top guards below him? Steph Curry's been unreal. SGA is giving you 2 60 fantasy point games here. Donnie Mitch kind of run it back in the Garden this time without Garland. Lonzo, keep saying Lonzo, LaMelo Ball, Halliburton. Where are we looking at here?
So like outside of Luka, you can obviously get the SGA. He has a ceiling. He's shown it twice. Curry, same thing, has a ceiling. I'm a little worried about the Sacramento game. Golden State looks really good. And they're at home. That spread has kind of ballooned to almost 8 points. Like, one of those things where what if Sabonis gets in foul trouble again? Are they going to be able to sustain like offense without Fox and Sabonis? So, you can play Curry in tournaments. I think that's fine. I'm okay going to Donovan Mitchell. I mean, that game is a nightmare. 211 total. We saw it last, and I don't want to like bring last night into my mind because I do think in Cleveland, this is just a random blowout. Evan Mobley couldn't buy a basket. Anyone not named Donovan Mitchell couldn't do anything, right? Like that's basically what it came down to. We've seen how good Strus has been. We've seen how good Mobley's been. We've seen how good Okoro's been. So like, that's more fluky.
This was the flukiest thing of all to me. He only took 3 3-pointers.
That's terrible. And also, it's something to be said. The Knicks have owned Cleveland. So like, since dating back to last postseason, dating back to last year, like whatever Cleveland thinks of every other team doesn't like the Knicks are their boogeyman. Right. So you can get to Donovan Mitchell in tournaments, but that game environment is trash. I think that game is like a full fade for me on a 13-game slate. We know Dame has a ceiling. That's fine. He's also whatever. LaMelo feels like a pretty good bounce back, but until we hear that there's like more of a minutes ceiling, like if we can,
he played 33. I'm comfortable knowing he's playing 33 because that means at the very least, I don't think we're getting under 30 for him, and we know Charlotte will play their guys extended. The reason he didn't play the extended minutes here was just the foul trouble. It wasn't really injury related. So, and the report we got going into that Brooklyn game was that LaMelo will be playing the minute, in the same range of minutes he's been playing now. Well, the same range could mean 36 to 31, basically, right? So, I think that there is upside here. You're kind of still paying maybe top of the market for LaMelo, but nearly triple-doubled against Detroit, gave you 49 fantasy points. And what do we keep on harping on with LaMelo Ball? 25% shooting, 23% shooting, 26% shooting. There will be a night where he shoots 40%, not 50, like 40% from the field, and he goes for 60. So if you think Houston is a team that isn't going to play a ton of great defense against them, LaMelo certainly could look to pop off. So some pretty good GPP tournament plays in this range. We talked last night, if Trae Young is in, $8,900 is a price point we don't think we'll see him at too often. And another guy that is not really shooting the ball all that well, still giving you pretty decent production. Thoughts on this Atlanta-Washington game?
Yeah, I mean, this is probably one of the primary reasons I would not play LaMelo Ball, because I would just get to Trae Young, who I think is in a better spot overall. This game has the highest implied total on the board. It's the best game environment on the board. It's part of my Call of Fame. This is my favorite game, mostly from the Atlanta side. And now I would, if I am running it back, which I don't think you need to do in NBA DFS, because it could just be a route where Atlanta scores 140 points and, you know, so like if you wanted to run it back, I would say Kuzma would be the guy, or Jordan Poole, just for sheer ceiling. But I love Trae Young 8,900 if he plays. Another guy, like you said, hasn't shot the ball well. He's been a notorious double-double machine. And when he does shoot the ball well, I mean, the three-point volume is really weird to me, because we're talking about all these teams and all these players that are taking a lot of threes, and he's not. And he has been
Right.
I mean, we've seen Trae take more 40-footers than everyone else but Dame Lillard. And even maybe then he's taking more 40-footers regularly than Dame Lillard. So if Trae plays 8,900 and the best game on the board, he's one of my favorite spend ups. If he doesn't play, John, you have to get DeJounte Murray into your lineups. Like we saw the upside, but like,
the only key thing that kept DeJounte Murray from being one of my Call of Fame plays of the day was just the Trae Young uncertainty. If Trae Young got ruled out, I think we both would have had him as our locks for everything would have been DeJounte Murray here tonight. Full agreement, but you know what? The field feels the same way. The field is getting DeJounte Murray even with the Trae Young news, right? Because one, I mean, $7,300 is a pretty cheap price tag for DeJounte in general, given this game environment. And the fact that he did just pop off with Trae Young playing a full role. So, and he's done it now, again, 61 fantasy points. He gave you a near 40 burger at night 2 in a tough spot against the Knicks. So definitely like DeJounte just in general, price-wise here tonight. Any thoughts? You mentioned Poole running back, but you said you don't need to. Brunson 79, any interest in that matchup, or Jamal Murray here at 78?
Not really. I think, Murray's probably priced appropriately. We saw kind of the ceiling last game. I know he can go for 50 regularly, but not at this when you have Murray and when you have possibly McCollum at 72 if Brandon Ingram is rolled out. Brunson, I think I'm just full fading Cleveland, New York, and
I think a lot of people probably are. I'm gonna hop down into my cash game lock of the day here, and that's gonna be Marcus Smart. I think Marcus Smart in cash games tonight, going up against Utah. We talk about Utah being one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA. We talk Marcus Smart really just having the green light when it comes to scoring. If you want to use him in your tournaments, I think you can. We've certainly seen the ceiling. 240 plus fantasy point games here, but $6,500 is a pretty good price tag for a guy that I think has a really safe floor given his current usage rate right now in this Memphis offense here. You know that he also will give you some rebounds. You know he's going to give you the assists. Defensive player of the year a couple of years ago. Look at these steal numbers: 2, 5, 2, 3. So I think this is a really great spot against a Utah team that doesn't really have an identity in their backcourt yet, right? They're kind of moving guys in and out. Clarkson, Talon Horton-Tucker, Keontae George, Agbaji's played it sometimes here and there. Like that kind of rotation when you go up against a guy like Marcus Smart, who, again, green light to shoot, took 10 threes, has a 7-3 game already this season, attempt-wise already this season as well. So for cash game play, I like Marcus Smart a lot in this mid-tier range.
Yeah, and the minutes should be super secure. Derrick Rose already ruled out here. There's no, true backup behind him. This feels like a minute ceiling kind of game for Marcus Smart, like a game where we've seen a lot of players playing a lot of minutes. I think more than we've been accustomed to the last few years. This could be a game where Smart approaches 40 minutes. And what do you want? First and foremost, you want obviously volume and peripherals, but you want minutes when you're playing cash. You want your guys to just be playing minutes. So I think there's a seriously high floor for Marcus Smart in terms of minutes and projections and all the fantasy goodness you can play.
Yeah, so Marcus Smart for me in the mid-tier is a guy I'm looking to lock in here. What are your thoughts on the rest of this sort of mid-tier range at the point guard position?
So I think D'Angelo Russell is a very interesting play at 6,100. He's had a really good start to the year. And I think last year he was kind of a little getting his feet wet, like learning how to play with so many stars. And this year, I think he's just playing. Like he looks really good. He's running the offense really well. 7+ assists in 3 of the 4 games, 5+ in all 4. He's scoring the basketball really well. We just saw the ceiling D'Lo game, 28 actual his last time out. 6,100 is a really good price, especially if your backcourt. See, so I don't know if they're going to start PJ Tucker. I guess that's the question, right? If they don't, their backcourt's Bones Highland and Russell Westbrook. Like Norm Powell, those are the 3 guards that they're going to use. Those are exploitable defenders. Like Bones Highland is known as a volume shooter. Russell Westbrook, we know, was a good defender at a time. He has obviously lost a step. And Norm Powell's an offensive player first. Like good matchup for Russell everywhere. I think Schroeder is fine. Derek White is one of those like good luck guessing the right Boston guy.
Drew Holiday, our guy I see through you in chat, says, what about Jaylen Brown? I mean, you picked the night, right? A couple nights ago, 49 fantasy points for Derek White in that game against Miami. Jaylen Brown breaks the slate against the Wizards. Jason Tatum always kind of doing his thing in there, made the most steady of the 4. And then on opening night is Kristaps Porzingis that went nutty against the Knicks and his former team. So if you can pick the right Celtic outside of Jason Tatum, sure, I think they're all tournament plays. But what do we talk about here? It's an 11-point spread. They're telling you that a blowout is on the verge of happening here. So, something to at least look at there. A couple of updated injury news here, James. Precious Achiuwa officially ruled out. Jalen Duran trending towards being a true game time decision here. So, star center for Detroit. We'll see if he gets on the floor or not with that ankle injury. Obviously, when we get the official word on him, it is the 7:00 game at least, so we should know ahead of roster lock whether or not Jalen Duran is in or out. Moving on down the list here, this is where it gets a little interesting because there are some plays that, some guys that are off to slow start, some guys that just kind of come off the bench here. Last night we played a lot of Bones Highland. Any interest in running it back here with him tonight?
Yeah, I mean, again, I just don't know what the rotations or starting lineup is going to be. I suspect why not just run it right back with Bones in the starting lineup, but I don't know how they view PJ Tucker.
So they start Tucker and move
Bones back to the bench. That would be my assumption.
It feels like that really lowers their depth off the bench at the forward position again, though.
Yeah, I mean, they just don't have like, I mean, their forward depth to begin with is lower because they traded all of them, right? They literally got rid of all of them except Terrence Mann. Yeah, look, I could obviously see Bones playing. He was really popular earlier in the day. He is not anymore, and I think that's because we got news that everyone's playing. With everyone, there is a lower ceiling. Obviously, he didn't have any rebounds and he had 3 assists. That's because when he's playing second unit, he's in control of everything, right? Like he's not playing with Paul George or Kawhi or Russell Westbrook. And last night he had to share the floor with all of them. So I'm okay with it. I mean, he ended up like he was in my playbook. I'm just a little less bullish now that we have basically, for now, the Clippers active. And so I'm a little less bullish. He would be somebody, this is where like being a sharp like pivot after lineup lock comes in. Like if you aren't playing just playing all the 7 p.m. games and you have like a lot of late night exposure, and we get word that Paul George and Kawhi are going to sit because they're not in the injury report. That doesn't mean they won't pop later. I mean, the game's still 5 hours away. So Bones would be a very sharp pivot.
Having 2 10 p.m. games and a 9 p.m. game gives you the ability to sort of build some lineups with this late exposure so you can get creative when the news does break. A couple of questions in chat, some names being thrown out at us. IC3U says, thoughts on Malcolm Brogdon. Now, we've been talking about him. We've been playing him. If you want to use Malcolm Brogdon in cash, I have no problem with that. He comes off the bench but still plays 26, 31, and 29 minutes. The shot attempts have been ridiculous for them. He's probably one of their most polished offensive players overall on this entire team. And we got to love the fact that he's got 5 assists in 3 of the 5 games. Give you a couple of rebounds in some of those games here as well. So definitely like Malcolm Brogdon at $5,700. And then Albert throwing out Nembhard here, $5,100 if there's no Halliburton. Assuming we see Nembhard as the starting point guard, or do you think Bruce Brown starts at point guard and they kind of shift like Hield into the starting lineup. What are your thoughts on how the Pacers may attack the team? Is Nembhard a play just because we think blowout run?
I think on a 13-game slate, that's hard to think about. Like, do we play somebody in the hopes that he gets fourth quarter run,
Yeah.
right? Because we have 13 games to. Also, TJ McConnell not mentioned in that, right? Like in that mix. So like, there's a lot of different options.
Also
If
kind
you
of
remember
upset
those
with DraftKings here. Nembhard 45, 46, 45, and then they get word that Halliburton's
51.
questionable. So they just make him 51. They're not supposed to be paying attention to the NBA right now. It's football.
I know,
You know?
I know.
They're supposed to be getting these cheap plays without price adjustments for the first month, you know?
Yeah, and I think that, John, you bring up a good point. It's not like he's not free. Like if he was like $3,800, I think it's a different discussion. If you remember those big Nembhard games last year, it wasn't just Halliburton missing.
Right.
It was TJ McConnell missing too. Like both of those guys were missing. We know TJ McConnell is a very good fantasy point per minute guy. I'm indifferent about Nembhard even if he starts because I'm not sure. Like we've seen Rick Carlisle limit minutes. Like he's good. He had an opening night double. There's your example, John. Opening night, right? Washington, 23-point win.
Yep.
22 minutes for Andrew Nembhard. It's very hard to predict blowout run on a 13-game slate for a guy who's $5,100.
DePrince asking on FanDuel, do we think smart Luka is the way to go at point guard? Now, listen, Luka on FanDuel has been just as good almost 65, 71, 67.
Yeah.
He's $12,900. If you want to go there on FanDuel, you certainly can. But Anthony Davis is about $1,000 cheaper on FanDuel. Dual positional eligibility, power forward, center, 67, 67, 63. So obviously a little bit less, but not by a lot, right? Like only one game over 70 for Luka there, and it was 71. AD has actually outscored Luka in 2 of those 3 games.
Yep.
So on FanDuel, I don't think Luka is the guy because he doesn't really give you the blocks and steals, or someone like Anthony Davis or Giannis at 10-8. Yeah, right there, Brendan. Rather go Giannis at 10-8 on FanDuel. Right. I'd rather take my shots on someone like them over there where you get some of those defensive stats. Marcus Smart on FanDuel as well. He was like $7K the other day, $7,100. Now, again, I think you could go there. 40 fantasy points, over 40 fantasy points in 2 of the last 3 games for him because he's given you those steals. But this, again, now you're sort of paying the premium for Marcus Smart on FanDuel. I do think he still has some upside. I like him for cash still over there at 7K. But there's some other guys and a few other guys we've discussed and some guys we're going to be talking about here. Like, I think I'd rather play Malcolm Brogdon on FanDuel at 59 than a Smart at 71. But I definitely like Smart still if you want to get him in your lineups over there. So not hating on Marcus Smart at all tonight on either format because you do get the boost for the steals. But again, it's just you don't get the bonuses that you get over on DraftKings. And he's obviously a little bit more expensive over there as well. So probably a no-go for me, depends on Luka, but if you want to get Smart, that's fine for me on the FanDuel slate. So again, if you guys play on FanDuel, go ahead, shout those questions out. We're certainly going to have that open and be able to help you guys out there. Earlier, we did have another comment here. Hawkins, if there's no Ingram, we're talking about value and how we get possibly get in Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
That would be one of the ways here. I guess he's shooting guard only. I was looking at FanDuel. I think he was both. But still, value play. We're going to go to shooting guard here in a moment anyways. Yeah, people will go here tonight if Ingram's probably out, if we're trying to fit in some Luka Doncic, another guy under $4,000 tonight that could get some love. I don't know if he finds the same level of success that he had, but OKC is a tough team there, but he did it against the Warriors. Any other point guards you want to shout out here?
No, point guard doesn't have great value. Talon Horton-Tucker, someone that's getting some ownership, but that's a pass for me. If there's going to be a chalky Talon Horton-Tucker, I'd rather
Jalen Duran officially ruled out for this evening.
Well, and to comment on that, if you guys didn't see the news earlier today, Marvin Bagley was seen working with the first unit during shoot around. So Remains to be seen. I think there's 3 directions they could go with the starting lineup. They could plug Alec Burks and shift Stewart to the 5. They could start Bagley, or 3K James Wiseman exists in the world who's active. So I think there's 3 different approaches. My assumption would be Marvin Bagley after seeing him work with the ones, but it is worth
very least you think there's going to be some increased minutes for Bagley here. We also just got the Trae Young news officially listed as available to play tonight. So if you want to get some Trae Young at $8,900, you can. Still, I think DeJounte Murray still very much in play in that matchup against Washington here. Shooting guard position. Again, some of these guys we've discussed already, some we haven't. I said on the NBA DFS preview show that I love Desmond Bane here today. Again, I'll just throw it up here. My lock of the day when it comes to game stack here is this Grizzlies Jazz game for a lot of different reasons. One, I already told you I like Marcus Smart. I like Desmond Bane. We'll get to some Utah players as well in this one that you and I are both high on. One of the games that I'm going to certainly find some multiple exposure to. Again, green light for him shooting the basketball. Their leading scorer here. Great matchup against Utah.
Great matchup against Utah, and outside of one game, Desmond Bane's been amazing. The minutes are secure, the shot attempts are secure, the threes are secure. Peripheral stats, he's had 2 more steals in 3 of the 4. And you mentioned that Utah was one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA. They are the worst statistically in terms of defensive rating. So worse than Washington, which is very hard to do at this moment in time. So just for context, I love that call. I do think that this game stands out, and it's not even like one that's popping in like game total, like 225.5, but 1.5 point spread. I could definitely see the over, well over this. The
chat knows us well here because they're shouting out one of our favorite plays. And guys, we'll get to him. Don't you worry about that. But speaking of another player on that team, does Cade Cunningham get impacted at all by this Durant news to you? Does he become more or less appealing, or what version of Cade Cunningham comes about? If anything, if you want to look at trends, good game, bad game, good game, bad game, maybe a good game on the horizon here this evening against Portland.
I think regardless, it could be me, you, Bowers, and I see 3 on the floor with Cade, and who knows what version is going to show up. It's going to be good Cade or bad Cade. It's going to be it's a 1% play. If you want to play him in tournaments, by all means. And if you don't, I can't say I blame you. It's just he is figuring it out on the fly, seemingly, after losing basically more than half of his first season and then all but 12 games last year. So he's still very young. He's still learning how to play in the NBA. You're going to have to take the good with the bad. It's a 1% GPP play that obviously
it's only a 4-point spread. It is a 216 total on a night where we have a lot of totals up over 225. But competitive games, maybe you get there here. I'm just going to assume Mark is trolling us, wondering if Peyton Pritchard is.
He is definitely.
But to that point, if it is a blowout, Peyton Pritchard will get on the floor. So what did Peyton Pritchard play in that last game? What's that? Before I assume
25 minutes.
I mean, maybe. Game flow, maybe. If you're multi-lineuping, Mark,
150 lines.
He did go 0 for 8, but he still managed 17 fantasy points. So, yeah, if you're making 20 lineups tonight, you want to throw one Peyton Pritchard. There's no value. Yeah. There's no value. So. Or there's some value, but
there wasn't, but it's coming.
But the values, a lot of the values at the same position, so that's kind of the other difficult spot there.
That's true.
All right, more shooting guard discussions here as we work our way through. We had the question on JB earlier. You can certainly play Jaylen Brown if you want to get there here. DeJounte we've discussed. Tyler Hero. I took the over on his shot attempts of 18.5 today. That felt pretty good, I think.
Yeah. I would say so, especially when you consider, I mean, even with Jimmy and Bam, like he took 24 shots on opening night. Both Jimmy and Bam are expected to play, but that hasn't mattered to the non-tradable Tyler Hero because they've never tried to trade him at all. I think he has a very safe floor, a very safe minutes cap, a safe shot volume. And we've seen the 2 games where he's made shots. He's gone for 47 and 51 fantasy points. So if the shots fall, Tyler
Even if
Hero's
the
going
shots
to
aren't
be in
falling, he chucks 7 for 24, 8 for 23. No shame. So again, they gave you 18 and a half. I kind of like it. I think Ben Simmons might be checking Butler maybe or something like that in this game. So DFS, but the guard defense for Brooklyn's trash. Cam Thomas and Lonnie Walker. That's not going to do anything there. So I liked Hero a lot. Not as cheap as he's been, but 7,500 feels like a good play. Same thing with T Rose. We don't need to go too much into it, but definitely in on him. Where are we with Cam Thomas here tonight, though?
I'm indifferent.
Pricing wise, obviously a big bump. He's only scoring. Had that outlier 7 rebound game. I think we're more likely to see a lot more 2s and 2s and 3s and 2s here than we are 7 and 2. But he's got to score 30 probably, right? If he doesn't, he doesn't pay off the price point.
Yeah, I'm a little indifferent about Cam Thomas at 66. So you can get there. I think there's just a couple better plays for cheaper that I'm interested in at this position.
Where are we rolling? Shooting guard down below.
I mean, you can obviously. We both mentioned Smart. We both mentioned Russell. I like Jalen Green's price quite a bit tonight. $6,100. It's a really good game environment. Jalen Green, back-to-back games of 38 minutes, back-to-back games with 20 shots, back-to-back games over 20 actual and 34 fantasy points. I mean, this is a guy that, second overall pick a few years ago. No more Kevin Porter. I know Van Vliet's there, but Van Vliet's a good passer, better than Porter ever was.
They're running the offense through Şengün too.
Through Şengün, which helps Jalen Green. I mean, I like the price. I just kind of like everything about Jalen Green tonight. The matchup, the pace is a really good one. Charlotte's second in pace behind Washington this year. So everything is really lining up. I think Houston's going to be pretty popular. I think the price tags are a little underwhelming, and that's something that we can attack. Like we're going to talk about Jabari Smith and Şengün, and all these guys should probably be priced higher. Same thing goes for Jalen Green. I like him quite a bit.
Yep. Our guy Jacob Bowers here playing over on FanDuel. Bane, Thompson, Hero, all save floors. Bane's 87, Hero 79. Clay, where's our guy Clay here over on FanDuel? Clay
58
is 50. Clay's $5,800. Thoughts there on the value or the shooting guard FanDuel position there?
Clay is fine. Obviously FanDuel hurts Clay because he doesn't get any points for made threes. Yeah. He's also kind of been awful peripherally when you look at things. And Chris Paul being there, he's had a game with 0 assists. That's not a coincidence whatsoever. When now Draymond's also back, so now he's contending with Draymond. And would
you rather play Malcolm Brogdon or Klay Thompson on FanDuel? They're $100 off each other.
Malcolm Brogdon for sure.
Okay. The other two certainly in play as well. Moving on down the list here, shooting guard, some value on this one. Again, some guys we've discussed already, but THT, no Kyrie. He's coming off the bench, but playing 30 minutes, shooting the lights out the floor right now, going up against Chicago. You're a Chicago Bulls fan, rather. How's your team looking tonight, you think?
So say THJ is safe. I don't think there's like a massive ceiling because even on the night he shoots really well. It's 8-14, 3-7, 21-5. Luka's just eviscerating anybody else's peripheral numbers, right? Like he just is doing so much. It's hard to get to anyone else, but I think THJ is a safe play. Someone I do want to discuss is I think there's a discrepancy between Malik Monk on FanDuel and DraftKings. He's 5K on FanDuel. He's 57 on DraftKings. Yeah. I don't have a lot of interest at him, 5,700 on DraftKings. I expect him to play maybe a few more minutes, but like we've seen even when like De'Aaron Fox has been out in the past and we've seen Davion start, like Malik Monk doesn't get that much extra run. Yeah. Like it's never been like a scenario where he's like 35 minutes ceiling through the roof. If the same thing applies when Fox is there versus when he's not. If Malik Monk is making shots, they're gonna find him time on the floor. And at 5K, I'm willing to take a shot at him on FanDuel. 5-7 though is a hard pill to swallow, and the Kings, like in general, outside of two guys that we'll get to, don't look great. So I think there is definitely a discrepancy between Monk. I wouldn't play him on DraftKings, but I would get to him on.
Sure, I'll agree with you there. Norman Powell, 4,900. Any interest?
Mild with everybody active. Should safe flourish.
Lonnie Walker's in the starting lineup at 48.
Yes.
In on that there as well. We talked Caruso last night. Any interest at 43?
Indifferent.
What was the other one? We talked Hawkins already. We had an earlier question on Luke Kennard from our guy Dylan. Do we think Luke Kennard gets any extra love tonight? No Derrick Rose, that shortened backcourt rotation for Memphis?
Not enough for me to go there on a 13-game slate.
Moving on over to the small forward position. I'll just get to it now because everybody's asking about him. Arswar Thompson. On FanDuel, he's a shooting guard only. Over on DraftKings, you see him here. He is a small forward, power forward play. They want to know if we are in on our guy here. Well, I can tell you that we are, because he is my Call of Fame lock of play under 7K here this evening. That was before the Jalen Duran news even broke, but obviously that was baked in a little bit with the expectation he could be out. With him being out, the man's already grabbing double-digit rebounds in 3 straight games. He's giving you defensive stats, a couple of assists. If he can just score, you see the ceiling, 40 fantasy points last time out. Maybe a couple more shots go his way. Maybe he'll eventually hit a 3. Who knows? But a great spot, I think, here against Portland. I think that we could see a ceiling turnover game from him here tonight. So big fan of Arswar Thompson. On FanDuel, like I mentioned, though, he is $6,900. Would you pay
It's tough.
Just pay the price?
I feel like there's better options. Like I'd rather play.
67 on FanDuel.
Might be it's a tough sell for me at that price.
You would need the ceiling turnovers, I think, from him to get the steals and blocks over there. But because he has that double bonus potential here on DraftKings. So loving him in the mid-tier price. Definitely where we're going. Other guys at the top of the small forward position, though. We know JT's in play. Anthony Edwards at 93, LeBron 91, PG and Leonard 9K and 86. If we're talking about these top 5 small forwards here, James.
They're all in play for tournaments. I think PG would probably be the first guy I would get to. I think he's really flexing his muscle like everywhere. But I have a guy below all of them that I'd be more interested going to in tournaments. He's one of my Call of Fame GPP plays today. That's Lauri Markkanen, $8,400. Look, Markkanen has been, 57 in 2 of his last 3, and he's coming off 57 in Denver. And his price is lowered almost $1,000 since opening night, and I'm just a little confused. There's no ownership coming his way. Memphis has been a dreadful defensive team. They're 0-4. They still haven't won a game. I love Lauri Markkanen in tournaments tonight at low ownership. I think he's a nice way to approach the fair and balanced tournament builds. I probably not going to get there in cash because we've seen, what the floor looks like. Granted, that floor came in the second leg of a back-to-back traveling to Phoenix, but I do love and another just piece to this game that you and I.
One of the reasons this is one of my favorite stacks of the night was because you can get, like Lauri Markkanen in here at some of these other plays. With ceilings, like you mentioned, you want to go fair and balanced build. We are at least in a spot right now with DraftKings and FanDuel as well, where a lot of these mid-tier and not top price guys, but in this 9K, 8K range have that 50, 60 point ceiling from some of them, where you don't need to go spend for Luka. One of the reasons probably why Luka and Jokic are not really going as highly rostered here. And when we get to center, we have another play on DraftKings that we're going to be checking in on as well for a top potential spend. Other mid-tier plays, Scotty Barnes, $7,800. You worried at all about this matchup against Milwaukee?
Yeah, I mean, he's been safe. Everything's been good about him. If you don't feel comfortable against Milwaukee, it's fine. But he's still under 8K, still too cheap.
For the first time this year, we have a double lock play here, James.
Yep.
That is Mr. Ben Simmons. He is both your cash game lock of the day and he is your favorite play under 7K. So you got him both in tournaments and cash games here tonight. What are we loving about some Ben Simmons here at $6,800?
Yeah, I'm lock and load in all formats, and I've said it a couple times. I think he looks almost all the way back. He just needs to get a little more aggressive offensively, but we're back-to-back games where we're 2 assists shy of a triple-double. There's no Dinwiddie. There's no Cam Johnson. There's no Claxton. So by default, Ben Simmons now becomes the starting center defensively and the starting point guard offensively. So, the rebounds, no reason to think they don't continue. The assists, he's running the offense with now like potent offense everywhere. Cam Thomas, potent. Lonnie Walker, potent at times. Mikal Bridges, breakout star last year. Like, this is a very good Brooklyn offense that Ben Simmons is going to be running. And if he does continue to score double figures, like we're looking at a walking triple-double like he kind of was pegged out of college. And so Ben Simmons, lock and load in cash. Miami defense does not scare me like it once did. And we're not talking about like needing Ben Simmons to go out there and take 20 shots. This is a guy who's going to peripherally stuff the stat sheet and can do it defensively as well. So Simmons is probably my favorite per dollar play of the slate. That's why he made 2 of my Call of Fame plays of the day.
Yeah, definitely like it here as well. To get the 5x return tonight, you just need 34 fantasy points. So something that is certainly doable to get that out of him here this evening. Moving our way down the list here at the small forward position when it comes to some mid-tier plays. Gordon Hayward for me, still in on him against this matchup against Houston. I took his over combined assists and rebounds prop. It was 8.5. 15, 12. Feels like an anomaly 0, and I think we're getting an advantage line here because the last game he had just 5. 8.5 for a combo. He's had 9 rebounds against Detroit by itself. So willing to place the money on that one tonight, folks. If you're out there, go check out that line. 8.5 points plus rebounds for Gordon Hayward tonight. Shaden Sharp, we've discussed it, 6K. We're in on Oscar Thompson. Talked about him as well. We do like there. Miller, another one off the bench, was just a monster against Brooklyn. He's been really good now for a couple of games here. $5,400.
Dennis Smith Jr. ruled out. Brooklyn literally doesn't have backup point guard. Just want to point out.
Yeah, Cam Thomas playing 40 minutes. It's gonna happen.
Everyone's playing 40
minutes.
They're all playing 40. Yeah, I mean, Brandon Miller for tournaments, he's going to be super low owned. You need the minute ceiling. So, if we see like LaMelo foul trouble or Mark Williams taken off the floor again, then you'll see Brandon Miller play big minutes. If not, you need him to be super productive in the 25. So I'm okay with him, but just in tournaments.
I'm trying to see. ESPN is saying that they have Amani Brooks on their roster. I guess
they do.
That would be their backup guard tonight.
Yep. Yeah. I gave him a few minutes in the projections today. He was activated yesterday. So was their second round pick, Jalen Wilson. He's a small forward, but he also was activated ahead of the game. So we could be seeing like a few secondary pieces play minutes, but like we saw Brooklyn. Look at the minutes from last game. Like
they all played a bunch.
Yeah, so I don't expect anyone else to like really.
Maybe more minutes for Day'Ron Sharp tonight. I don't know. Like play some Ben Simmons at point guard. Hey, let's get crazy, right? All right, moving on our way down. We talked Tim Hardaway. Did we go? Was Josh Green a shooting guard or a small forward here?
He's a small
forward, power forward. Starting 34 minutes, 21 fantasy points. I know it's not crazy. He hasn't only given you 5x once on the price point here. But if the minutes are legit, would you rather play him or Derrick Jones Jr.?
I would rather play Josh Green. I know that Jones Jr. scored like 22 points, but like more of an aberration than anything. Josh Green, former first-round pick, and he's been good in the times that I'm surprised he wasn't the opening night starting small forward, even though he might as well acted 28, 30, and 34 minutes the last 3 games. So Josh Green's fine for me. I think, another small forward value if you want to go there. 2, actually, Zaire Williams, 4,800.
Do you know what Zaire Williams' rebound prop is tonight, James?
Too low.
5.5.
I mean, he's hit that 3 straight, and there's
9, 10, and 7.
No reason to think he doesn't smash that again.
I'm either going broke or making some money on betting these props here tonight because these just feel they feel too cheap. I don't know, man. 5.5 rebounds. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, that's kind of silly. Royce O'Neal is going to play 30 minutes if you want to get there. I will say Dylan Brooks, $4,900, 34 minutes, 39 minutes last 2 games. 4,900 is a pretty good price tag and a really good spot if you want to take a shot on.
It's kind of trash, but
I mean, I don't disagree.
I'd rather play Lonnie Walker than Dylan Brooks.
I think that's the public perception, but like to be different, you can play Dylan Brooks, who may or may not be in our eyes trash, but he did get $80 million in the up.
Nobody knows why that happened. DeAndre Hunter, $4,900.
Yeah, I think he's pretty similar to a Dylan Brooks play, like probably a little higher of a ceiling.
DeAndre Hunter's way better than Dylan Brooks. Way better. Steve Bayes at 45. DePrince, yeah, you can play Ben Simmons. What's his FanDuel price?
It's like low sevens.
Simmons. 71. Yeah, you can plug in Ben Simmons tonight over on FanDuel for sure. Guys, again, if you have FanDuel questions, throw them in the chat. We're happy to help you out. Be here probably for another like half an hour or so. Any updated news will get you going on here. Any other small forward plays for you tonight?
Alec Burks, 4,600. We still don't know what the starting lineup's going to be there. So if Alec Burks, I was like toying with the idea what Sacramento would do. Would Chris Duarte crack the rotation a little bit more? But it feels a little too frisky for a 13-game slate. So I'll pass on.
I would agree with you. Richardson get any more minutes tonight or no? Play 23.
Without Jimmy, I mean, now Jimmy's back or he's listed probable. Maybe because Kevin Love's out, maybe they decide to move Jimmy to the 4 and we shift everyone down. No Caleb Barton. Yeah. If we got a starting lineup and Josh Richardson was in, because he played the final like 13 minutes of that game.
Yeah.
So maybe he's fine. If he were starting, then I think I'd have a little more interest.
XDS wants to know if we're doing Underdog. Man, I've been throwing out my plays for Underdog. I said I got the combined 8.5 points and rebounds for Gordon Hayward. I got the over 5.5 rebounds for Zaire Williams here tonight. These are all available on Underdog, so go check them out. There's definitely a ton of plays. Plus, I put like 8 plays in our Discord. If you're not yet a member of the Fantasy Arm family, you can sign up today at fantasyarm.com/lock, promo code lock. There's a whole bunch of Underdog fantasy plays I threw in our Discord for our members here today. But I've been throwing out some of my favorites as we've going along on the stream. If you've tuned in and listened here,
John, there's a flash sale right now on Underdog. Yeah. The flash sale for the next 11 minutes is Ausar Thompson, 6.5 rebounds. Just in case you wanted to go get that.
Super flex spot in the draft. No, I don't think.
No, we're not going to do one.
Draft. No. Though we do partake in the Underdog stuff that goes on there for their daily battle royals and whatnot there. So, all right. Any other small forwards for you? All righty. Power forward position here. That flash sale is pretty good. They limit you to like $10 though. Giannis up at the top again. We're not going to tell you not to play Giannis. Better play on FanDuel 10-8. Definitely get some action over there on Giannis here going up against Toronto. If you want, shooting volume has been great. You can't really complain about what you've been getting out of him at this point here. Siakam is my fade of the day when it comes to plays at the power forward or just on this slate. He's just not coming anywhere close to paying off this price tag.
No, he's not.
34, 27, 30, 35. He's over 9K. So for me, Pascal Siakam is my fade of the day here. Tough match against Milwaukee anyways. Do not get him in your line. Do not consider him.
Yeah, why not just play his better teammate for $1,400 cheaper? If you wanted to play a Raptor, just play Scotty Barnes. And
we'll double this up. Your fade of the day here is Zion Williamson for almost the exact same reason.
Yeah, it's too expensive. And he probably would have played 34 minutes if that game doesn't blow out, but he's just still not there peripherally. If Zion's going to hit value, it's because exceed value, because at 8,800 we're paying for
he probably has to steal 30 actual, right?
Dude, 30 actual, but maybe 35 actual if we're going to continue to get no peripheral stats, just to get 5x. We're not even talking about what a ceiling could look like for a guy who needs to get us 44 fantasy points.
Yeah, agreed. Would you play LeBron on the back-to-back, $9,100?
Not a back-to-back.
Not a back-to-back, right? Would you play LeBron rather against the team going on a back-to-back?
Yes. Second favorite Laker. Third favorite Laker play of the day, though.
Okay. Mobley, and we'll get to, or not Mobley, Russell, and we'll get to the other one in a moment here.
Yeah.
All right. Other power forward spots then. Where are we going?
Definitely play Zinger. You could definitely play Triple J as well. I think both those guys are perfectly fine in tournaments.
My favorite game stack of the day. So
yeah.
any way you can get pieces of this one, sign me up.
I think Kyle Kuzma really fits the bill if you want to get some Washington exposure. I think he's a little safer than Jordan Poole just because Jordan Poole is going to shoot a lot. So is Kuzma.
Sure.
But I feel like we have more confidence in Kuzma stuffing the stat sheet, especially I know Gafford went their shoot around, but if Kuzma started at power 40, even if he doesn't, he's a better peripheral stat stuffer than Jordan Poole. So he's also cheaper. So I like Kyle Kuzma 75.
I got to say, when I saw your calls of fame today, I thought for sure we would have seen Keegan Murray in that. We didn't, but Keegan Murray's here at $6,300. Is that because you're cooling on Sacramento a little bit? I mean, you got to think he's going to be taking at least a couple of more shots without De'Aaron Fox on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like a tough. I just don't know if this game is going to stay like as competitive maybe as we think it could be. I mean, they're a good team. I'm not saying they're not. But De'Aaron Fox has been really good to start the year, and he was really good last year. And the Warriors look really good on the flip side of things. I think the interesting thing is this year without De'Aaron Fox, Keegan Murray's a 0.7 fantasy point per minute player without him. Maybe that's direct correlation to De'Aaron Fox drawing attention and kicking to Keegan Murray, who's been taking 10 plus threes a game. So, I don't dislike Keegan Murray. I still think he's a very fine play. The peripheral stats have been great. The scoring has been great. But Ben Simmons is just a better per dollar play for me, which is why I went with him. I'm not totally out on Keegan Murray. I think he's still in play, but definitely a little less bullish on the Kings as a whole, as I think you and I were on the like when we first saw the podcast. It's like, ooh, De'Aaron Fox is out. That must mean like we're Kings to the moon. They're not priced that. Like everyone is like really highly priced still. There's like not a lot of good value on any of them. So I like Keegan Murray. I still think if that's where you get to, there's still a ceiling at 6,300. I'm just not as bullish as I am on Ben Simmons, is why I didn't go with that call as my under 7K lock.
All right. I don't mind going back to the well with PJ Washington here again, a guy that I like. I felt like I still think he's getting a little disrespected. His rebound prop tonight's 4.5.
Yep.
He had 12. I get that he had 5 and 3, but like, I don't know. He's a better rebounder than 4.5. So I kind of like that tonight. If you want to go some more rebounding props, I think 4.5 is a little bit too low for him. But your other call of fame here today, and I see DePrince and chat. Yeah, we'll throw these in the Discord for you as well, DePrince, once the stream's over here. John Collins is your value play lock of the day at $5,500. Again, just more exposure to Memphis, Utah here.
Yeah, I mean, we've been kind of giving John Collins his flowers to start this year. He got stack corrected out of his 4th straight double-double last time out against Denver. He's been on the floor for a bunch of minutes. They're playing him at both front court spots. He can space the floor a little bit. You love to see the 16 shot attempts against Denver as well. And again, we've talked about Memphis kind of just not being that same defensive team maybe as they were. And I understand Jared Jackson is the reigning defensive player of the year, but he is a very high like block and steals guy where like you can still score on him and they're still not like, dude, he did this like
he sells out for these. So he gets a lot of fouls. I mean, now John Collins doesn't take a lot of free throws, but maybe tonight's a change. I'll say this too. He's been putting up some good numbers while facing some teams that, have some legitimate power forward talent as well. So I think that the matchup isn't really one to be too afraid of here. Any interest in Bobby Poe off the bench for Milwaukee?
No, I know he went off last game, but like considering his price is so similar to Collins, the same, and $100 more than Jalen Johnson, I'd rather just and now I see you flashing Stewart on the screen. Like all three of those guys, I would put ahead of Bobby Portis.
Yep, I'm with you there. Again, Isaiah Stewart going to get probably some more love here now that Jalen Duran is out. Got to think his rebounding potential might increase here. Dorian Finney-Smith had a monster night. Again, a guy that's going to play a lot of minutes here against Brooklyn. $5,100 if you want to go there. Certainly can run that for you. Isaac Kors, 51. I'd rather play DFS. Last night you liked Naz Reid. Has anything changed for you here?
What's changed is Jalen Duran's out, and we could play Marvin Bagley at 4K. I think
Love
that's probably like Naz Reid is going to play 24 minutes, right? And with the potential for more if someone gets in foul trouble. But
having Bags like you talked about, this is slowly making Luka Doncic more and more of easier to fit into lineups here tonight. Played 24 minutes as it was because Duran was dealing with the ankle and just a poor play. 13-4, been a fantasy point per minute guy plus.
Yep.
All season long throughout his career, he's been that guy. 4K, great spot for Bagley here. Doesn't need much to give you over the 5X in. Yeah, I'm not gonna say if we had a 10X call today, but I mean Bagley has a 10X potential here.
Brandon
Ingram officially out. So Jordan Hawkins, $3,800. Bagley's 4K. Telling you, man, Luka is slowly becoming easier and easier to get into some lineups here tonight. So we'll see whether ownership flips or not.
I think the Ingram thing is really interesting because I think Hawkins is obviously where people are going to flock, and rightfully so. I mean, he's 3,800. I think you hit on it about the efficiency. He was uber efficient. I mean, he took 13 shots. He also played in blowout. He got blowout run as well. I think McCollum would be the first place I'd go. He was honestly off to a big game. He would have played 37 minutes if he doesn't get taken out for blowout run.
How good do you think OKC is?
They're good. No, I mean, they're good. I'm just saying, like, it's hard to, like, New Orleans is a playoff team. It's hard to, like, consistently think a team like that, even without Ingram, is just going to get blown out, like, nightly. So I like McCollum's price, 72. Hawkins is in play. Deep dive, if you want to play Dyson Daniels. He played 24 minutes off the bench for that team without Ingram in last time. I mean, Herb Jones, we know, is a guy who's going to play 30 minutes. Whether he stays out of foul trouble is the other question. And then we're going to get to probably one more guy that we can mention who had 27 fantasy points in 23 minutes.
Gafford officially just ruled out.
So they're going to start Kuzma at center against Capella and Okongwu, and that's going to be super hilarious.
Yep. All right. Any other power forwards here that you want to give a shot before we move on?
Well, let's see. What did Washington do? They played Gallinari at center last game.
16 minutes.
I don't know if you saw what Omayuri did in 12 minutes, but Eugene Omayuri went, like, if he were to get like a spot start.
Did he just like nugget all over Luke Cornett here?
Dude, if he were to get a spot start, he's kind of a fantasy point per minute guy, like he was in OKC as well. Sure. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm just saying you just can't play Kyle Kuzma at center. Like, you had to know if there was a Gafford injury away from playing Kyle. They didn't give Muscala a single minute, right?
Yeah.
So
no, he got 0. Yeah, he played 0 minutes.
So
5% of the field ate that 0 minute chuck. I had him in 2 of my 20. So
he was the most popular play going in before we found out Kuzma was going to start at center.
Right.
So I don't think there's anything else at power forward. There's obviously.
I'll just mention Derek Jones if he starts again, because he did start, and yes, he hit all of his shots, but he has $3,400 there. So all right, go to center because we've alluded to it a bunch of times here. We love Anthony Davis.
Yeah. Yes.
$9,800. 66, 65, 61. The reason if I don't play Luka Doncic tonight, I am playing Anthony Davis. Just absurd production out of AD here tonight. He is my number 2 spend up behind Luka. I would play him over Jokic. I play him over Giannis here. Play him over Sabonis. Under 10K, Anthony Davis, the way he's giving us 6+ X return. So,
everyone's out.
Halliburton out. Halliburton's out. Halliburton's out.
Everybody's out.
Yeah.
There is, I'm telling you right now, I'm not ever saying that like anything is certain in the NBA. It's the NBA. These are the best players in the world. I would be shocked if Indiana keeps this game competitive
Well,
in any capacity.
I think the reason that they sat Halliburton tonight is because they're like, there's no shot. We're 11-point dogs on the road. He's out. So I mean, again, reevaluating the Pacers front or backcourt here. McConnell played 19 minutes against Cleveland, had 22 fantasy points.
Mathurin in, for the record.
Okay.
Mathurin in.
They could play Brown at point guard. They could obviously play Nembhard at point guard here, playing over 20 minutes a night. McConnell was the blowout run in this game here. We'll see who starts. Obviously, whoever starts gets the edge. So pay attention to that. That's a 7:30 tip. So we'll see if that lineup comes out ahead of time. But obviously, major news here with Tyrese Halliburton being ruled out. Well, if we get news, we'll update it. But let's go back to center. Davis and 98 again, my favorite play. If we're not going to Luka tonight, I'm all in on AD. And who knows? Maybe I can figure out how to fit them both in here tonight with all this value that is now opening up on the slate. As we do work our way down, Alperen Sengun, again, if you're playing some prop games here tonight, Underdog has his assists at 5.5. If you notice this column right here, he's had 7, 7, and 6. So a little bit of value here on this Sengun.
Notice this column here.
A little value here on the assist prop here for Sengun tonight. And we saw this last year. This really isn't a fluke. Last year when Kevin Porter Jr. was out of the lineup, they ran the offense through Sengun. Obviously, KPJ ain't there anymore, but they signed Van Vliet, but they're not really having Van Vliet. They are having him run point guard. He's having a decent amount of assists as well, but the offense is still very much running through Sengun. So a good spot. Him and Mark Williams are going to have a nice battle tonight, but I like the over assist on Sengun. I just like him at the price point at $7,700 if I'm not obviously finding my way to Anthony Davis tonight.
Yeah, I mean, the thing we've worried about Sengun lately is minutes, right? The last year or two, and that's kind of debunked.
Ime's out here being like, go play,
go play. 41, 41 and 33 minutes. He fouled out in the San Antonio double or the overtime game, but he is another guy. He's Jokic light. I know everyone wants to be Jokic. They want every foreign center to be Jokic, and that's not going to always be the case. But like, they can run the offense through him, and they have, and he is a triple-double threat. So I love Sengun. I think he's an 8K plus player that you're getting still under 8K. It's definitely an advantage to
100%. With DeAndre Ayton not having to deal with Jalen Duran here, Ayton's coming off of a 23 rebound game. Another prop play that I'm in on tonight for those of you who are in on the prop game. DeAndre Ayton's rebounds are listed at 10.5 this evening. He had 9 boards in 21 minutes in this game here. The only one he's missed. 12 and 23, 15 and 30, 23 and 32. You're now taking Jalen Duran out of the lineup for Detroit here tonight. Ayton's the only man grabbing boards. I like this spot a lot for him tonight at $6,500. I think there's something to be said about this matchup for him here.
Yeah, and we don't know what Detroit's going to do at center. Like, there is multiple routes they can go, but none of them are Jalen Duran on the glass. Like, none of Stewart's good on the glass. He's not Jalen Duran. He's not athletic like Jalen Duran is, and athleticism has definitely given Ayton problems because he's not. He's just a very skilled big man who can rebound well. I do think this is a really good price point, and it's hard to replicate 23 rebounds, but he's been a rebounding freak for 4 games based on
the only thing that hasn't come through is the offense, which he was talking about before he got to Portland, being like, now you're going to see the offensive side of me, and he's hasn't taken double-digit shots yet. He's taken 1 free throw as a center so far this season. But I like the boards tonight over 10.5. I like the matchup for him. Would you play Mark Williams against Sengun?
No. Okay. Not that I would, but it's hard to love that even in a game where he's 8 for 8 from the floor, there's no foul trouble, but he just is off the floor because Brandon Miller is going nuts, right? What if Brandon Miller goes nuts again? Is Mark Williams just going to suffer again?
Their ability to play PJ Washington at the 5 can hurt them in these spots. But Houston is going to go traditional. The reason I love PJ Washington against Brooklyn was because we knew they weren't going to play Daron Chubb. They were going to go with this small ball lineup that just played out to Washington's favor there in that spot. Isaiah Stewart again can play at $5,400. That's totally fine here. Value centers, I'm just going to go down to him. We talked Bagley already at 4K. He's now going to kind of trump my initial value play of the day, because my initial value play at the center position, when we come to the Call of Fame, I'll still throw it out for the sake of consistency here. It was going to be a Neki Okonkwo here. 23, 24 minutes the last 2 games. Now, 3 of 3 from the field is not what I want. I want more of the 7 of 11. But it is getting to the free throw line, is giving the rebounds here, over 20 fantasy points in back-to-back games. They gave him the money. Capella, him are kind of in a timeshare here. And we just talked about Washington, no Gafford tonight. So when he comes on the floor, if he's not starting, like, what center is he playing up against? So I think Okonkwo here is in a pretty good spot at $3,900.
I don't think he's not going to be playing against any center. They don't have one, right. especially if they don't play Muscala. Like, if they're just electing, like, why do we have Mike Muscala?
Well, they even keep Capella on the floor if it's Kyle Kuzma playing the 5, right? Because Okonkwo is more athletic than Capella is.
Way more, yeah. At this rate, way more.
But Bagley, just to reiterate though, Bagley, assuming in the starting lineup tonight, would be where I would go over. If they're both off the bench, how would you lean, Bagley or Okonkwo?
Probably Nkonkwo, because I like that game much better.
Sure.
Also, it's worth mentioning, John.
Yeah.
James Wiseman hasn't played a single minute. They made the trade for him. We saw last year he was DMP and then into like 30 minutes at times, right? Like, what if Wiseman started? He would be 100. He'd be 90% owned in cash games.
You'd have to play. Well, you'd have to play him. You'd have to play him.
Because like
we'll know.
We'll know. So
Jacob wants to know: would you play O'Neal or Crowder on FanDuel? Royce O'Neal.
For sure, Royce O'Neal.
Yeah. Go Royce O'Neal there. I get you already have Simmons and Walker here, but Crowder is not really playing the minutes for me in that, or enough for me in that spot.
And Brooklyn's rotation is 7 guys.
Yep.
So he's going to play 30 minutes.
To wrap up our Call of Fame here, before we get to our lineup build here for the evening, this is where we are at. GPP lock. James has Lauri Markkanen. I got Luka Doncic here. Cash game lock, Ben Simmons. I have Marcus Smart. Value lock, John Collins. Again, I have Ineki Okonkwo, but that could be changing to Marvin Bagley if he ends up in that starting lineup here tonight. We can also see who starts for Indy at the point guard position as well. Favorite stacks, he likes Wizards Hawks. I'm in on Grizzlies Jazz. Our fades are 2 power forwards, Zion Williamson and Pascal Siakam. Our favorite plays under 7K. I don't know if this has changed for you at all now, James, but Ben Simmons, and I have Asor Thompson is my favorite play under 7K. Call of Fame locks of the day. We'll have to throw that in the Discord as well for those of you who maybe have left our show already here today. All right, let's build a lineup. A lot of news now to do so. Do we go to ED at the center spot and just go Bagley at power forward? How do you want to approach a lineup build, not knowing kind of where we're at with everything here?
Yeah, I understand there's valued plays on the board. I still think the highest upside lineup build is not Luka. I know it's weird to say because Luka has the highest upside, sure, but he just handicaps your lineup pretty much. Again, we talked about it in the beginning. Luka and Nkonkwo, they were paired because that was the only way you could comfortably build out the rest of your lineup. Mm-hmm. I want Simmons in there for sure. At some either guard or forward, it does not matter to me.
Fine. Do you want Stewart or Osor? Are you out on either here?
No, I think the entire Detroit front court is interesting. All of them.
Obviously, he's a little bit more. Stewart's a better offensive player, so
sure.
Probably Indy's cheaper. So I guess we could probably lean in that direction here. 5,900 for a guard and a util play. Let's see. Do we have another cheap guy down here? Lonnie Walker, 48.
Lonnie Walker, 48. Yep.
And then we have a 7K util. 7K utility. We got T. Rose, Cam Thomas. Smart was my cash game.
Smart. Smart. Jalen Green. Oh, man, we're so close to like
No,
the
we're
next
close.
tier of guys like Kuzma or Şengün or
Oh, if we move on
Jalen.
Stewart, as much as we like
DeJounte at 73 in that
him.
game environment.
Yeah, let's go forward. I moved Stewart off. Let's see if we can spend up and then spend down a little bit here. Where did we like in this 7K range here for four? Or I guess a util would have worked as well. So was our value down here?
So you had Stewart in, right, at 54?
No, I pulled Stewart out.
Okay. I'm saying you had Stewart.
Had Stewart in. Yes. I mean, if we do a Gonku just to put him in the util, that gives us an $8,500 forward.
Switch AD with Ngakwe too, because you have the AD late swap.
All right. Gonku here at center. Davis. That gives us an $8,500. I guess we could also go guard because Simmons could fit there as well. Do we have an 85 guard? Would be Desmond Bane.
Desmond Bane, yeah.
That's a bingo. All right, we'll go. Actually, can we Deslani? That's not going to work because he's not point guard eligible. We need he's shooting guard eligible. Oh, so close. We need $8,500 point guard.
Oh, we're so close to Trey in that tier.
I know.
You could play DeJounte at 73, and then we can move up to.
You want Ben Simmons here?
Yeah, for sure.
Ben Simmons, that gives us 1,200. I mean, we could go off Hawkins. We don't have.
Well, I was going to say play Hawkins. You can go from Lonnie Walker to Jalen Green at 6K, or I mean, I don't know how you feel about Jalen Green tonight, but
yeah, 6K. Actually, at that point, I'll just do this. We'll just do Simmons at the guard spot and or Thompson at $5,800. Which is Stewart or Thompson? Pick one.
Thompson works.
Okay. So we got DeJounte Murray here, Jordan Hawkins, Lauri Markkanen, Marvin Bagley, Onyeka Okongwu, Ben Simmons, Oscar Thompson, Anthony Davis. Just a GPP tournament lineup for everybody here this evening. And go check all of that out. Again, we'll be in the Discord till roster lock here. If you're not yet a member of the Fantasy Alarm family, I'll flash it up right now. Ending this week is our promo for the $100 off annual subscription package. Scan the QR code here on the screen. Go to fantasyalarm.com/lock. Enter promo code LOCK. Our month-to-month subscription package is about $40 a month. Right now, with our annual subscription discount, you're going to get it for less than $16 a month for a year. That includes all of our premium content, not just NBA, but NHL, NFL, MLB, PGA, MMA, NASCAR, you name it. We cover it. If it's behind the paywall, you get access to it. That includes our fantasy football draft guide for next year, fantasy baseball draft guide for next year, fantasy basketball draft guide for next year. And you get access to our premium Discord where we're in there chatting it up with you guys until roster lock, and sometimes even after roster lock as well. So again, scan that QR code, go to fantasyalarm.com/lock, use promo code LOCK, take advantage of that offer today. And if you could do us a favor, like and subscribe to the channel below. Really helps us out, helps us with the visibility and everything that promote the channel. It helps us out a lot to get more eyes. James and I will have a morning show tomorrow for the 2-game slate. We won't be back live at 5 o'clock for the 2-game slate. We'll be in the Discord, though, so if you're a premium member, find us in the Discord, getting you guys ready for that 2-game Thursday. But we'll be back Friday, full bore, 5 p.m. live stream, 9 a.m. preview show as well. So don't miss out on all that good action there today. James, my friend, any final words for the friends at home here?
I just put it in chat, but projections on fantasyalarm.com have been updated. Playbook being updated right now. Playbook, core plays, injury news, all that good stuff will be updated right now heading into roster lock.
Awesome. All right, everybody. We'll see you in the Discord. Good luck tonight. We'll talk to you later.